The man walking into it suddenly heard a noise behind him, which made him suddenly feel a little scared. After looking closely, it turned out that there were 2 cars that had derailed. Tuet was heading towards him. This made him feel even more scared. He desperately ran forward, but the surrounding area was deserted with no place for him to hide. But before he could run far, he slipped and fell. Just when he thought he was about to die, the car rushed past, then only the man was left lying in the snow, screaming. It turned out that this was just a hallucinations caused by long-term mental stress. He was stuck here for 3 days and 3 nights, and in order to survive, he could only continue walking unconsciously. The sky suddenly got dark. Suddenly he saw a row of footprints in front of him, which made him feel a little uneasy. Carefully put his shoes on and try them on. Then he realized that those were his own footprint. Unexpectedly, after working hard all day, he returned to his original position because he was so tired that he suddenly fell down. He was hopelessly on the ground and wanted to give up. But suddenly he saw his own shadow. He looked up in surprise and discovered a long aurora shining in the sky. This made him accidentally realize a new direction and he started walking along the aurora borealis. Time passed. His food was running out. He had to find something before he started to death. But in an environment like this, finding food was never easy. After walking for a long time, he left too tired. He curled up and lay down to rest next to a small slope. However, just as he was about to sleep, he suddenly heard a strange noise. He carefully stood up and saw a monkey in front of him, quickly bent down and shivered. He got up and took out a pistol from his pocket. Such a good opportunity he definitely couldn't miss. But the weather was so cold that it made him constantly shiver and made him even shiver, unable to hit even. At such a close distance, the seal heard the gunshot and immediately ran away. This made him extremely worried and risked his life to get up and chase. Unfortunately, the ice surface was too slippery and he accidentally fell into the water. When he climbed up, the seal had already run away with injured legs. He had no choice but to give up. Just as he was about to check the wound, he heard the seal in the distance approaching. He tried to stand up and saw that the seal did not hide in the water, but instead was crawling on the ice. He quickly grasped the pistol with both hands and shot it. He was extremely happy that finally I had a hearty meal after 3 days of not having anything to eat. I discovered something right in front of me. When I carefully looked at it, it turned out to be a small tree. I was extremely excited, because when there was a tree, it showed that I pass. Overcoming this endless ice zone with a little hope, the group continued regardless of their strength, refusing to rest, then finally reached a forest before dark. After a long tiring day, he decided he was about to go to sleep, but as soon as he lay down, he heard the sound of birds flying. He opened his eyes and suddenly saw 2 large men appearing right in front of him. He was extremely scared and immediately pulled out a gun, told him that he just happened to be here hunting and was willing to take him with him, but as a prisoner it wasn't easy to escape. He really didn't dare to trust them without help and told them to quickly leave. Fortunately, they were not malicious, so they turned around and left early the next mornings in the forest. Suddenly there was a snowstorm and the wind blew so strongly that it was difficult for him to move. He had no other choice but to hide behind, but he didn't expect the storm to be so big that it uprooted the tree. He quickly turned around and ran away, but he didn't expect that as soon as he got lucky, a big tree fell towards him. Before he could react, he died, was pressed to the ground by a tree after the storm passed. Then suddenly someone helped him lift the branch off his body. He trembled and opened his eyes to see that it was the old hunter he had met last night. Seeing them was so enthusiastic. He was extremely excited, feeling moved. He decided to go with them, at least on the long journey home. They would have a companions. They traveled from winter to spring. Finally, they rafted to a big river and chatted happily, and enjoyed the beautiful scenery along the way, but then suddenly fell into an area with a strong current. He quickly stood up and helped, but had not climbed far when a strong current caused the old man to fall into the water. He didn't pay any attention and told him to keep climbing, but after thinking about it, he decided to jump into the water because he couldn't bear to see the person who saved him drowning here, and lucky they were able to escape. From there, after going ashore, the old man decided to take him to find his friend, to settle account, because the reason this accomplice did not want to save him was because his backpack had gold and he wanted to monopolize it for him. By the time the old man and his brother could change the name of their accomplice and his father asked, he said that the gold had been swept away by the river. However, the old man had soon seen through his plot. He ignored him and went straight into the house to look for gold, and then used a gun to shoot him dead while he was drinking water. Then they left together. The two of them continued walking together, but until winter they still couldn't get out of the forest. The weather was getting colder and colder to see the old man was shivering because of the cold, so he wanted to help him carry his backpack so he could feel less tired. However, the old man thought he wanted to steal his gold, so he quickly pushed him down the slope and dumped him for who knows how long. He was suddenly awakened by a noise. When he opened his eyes, he was stunned to see several hungry wolves rushing towards him. He quickly stood up, grabbed a small tree and hung it up, but it was too low. The wolves quickly jumped up and bit into his prize. He was scared and struggled in despair, but unfortunately, the tree broke and crashed to the ground. He quickly closed his eyes as if he was about to die. Right at this moment, a gunshot rang out. He looked up and saw that the wolf had been shot by someone and suddenly escaped death. This feeling scared him so much that he fainted until he woke up and found himself lying on a sled. Snow turned out to be a nearby tribe that rescued him after bringing him home. They helped him treat his wound and enthusiastically took care of him. It made him feel warm after a long and tiring journey, but because he was a prisoner of war, so I didn't dare stay here for long, only if I can return. To my contrary, will you have a chance to survive? As soon as I recover, I decided to leave alone. With a bag full of food on my back, I continued on my way home. However, the journey was still long and difficult. Soon he didn't have much food left. He was like a homeless person walking around the market looking for an opportunity to see a pot full of rice. He wanted to swallow water, but the boss signaled him to leave quickly. The man had no choice but to reluctantly leave. As he was leaving, suddenly two women called him over and wanted to feed him some freshly baked cakes. His two faces were full of enthusiasm. He suddenly stepped back, because he knew he didn't have any money to tea. The kind landlady knew what he was worried about, so he told the child to take a piece of cake and give it to him. The boy caught up and quickly stuffed the cake into his body. He was so touched that he took the cake and left. However, he didn't notice there was an old man watching him from afar. After walking out of the market, he did in a dark corner with a special status, so in this place he could safely eat the cake he was eating. Suddenly he saw a church opposite for a homeless person. This was the place feed him. He looked around and when he didn't see anyone, he carefully stepped in. He knelt down and prayed to go home soon. But he didn't expect that the old man at the market suddenly appeared behind him with his experience. The old man had long guessed his identity, because this made him hopeless, but fortunately the old man had no bad intention but simply wanted to help him, although he had some doubts. Now he can only not long after following the old man, the two of them arrived at the old man residence. After talking, they learned that the old man brother was also a prisoner of war like him, but unfortunately, they could not escape, so that why the old man wanted to help him return to his hometown. After the two of them finished talking, the old man told him to go take a shower and I went out to help him get a passport to rerun home. When the old man finished his work, he came back and saw that he was no longer in the house. He rushed to the church where the two met and discovered that he was hiding there alone. I knew that made the old man a bit disappointed, but he still gave him his passport and told him my name as well as my new identity. After listening, he felt extremely grateful. He immediately went to the station, and with his passport he bought a ticket home, but unexpectedly everything was not done. Son shared when their car was approaching the border and was stopped by the police. He was scared because he thought they were coming to arrest him. It wasn't until the police arrived that he realized the road ahead was under construction. Cars can't get through, but for me, I don't dare stay here any longer. I have no choice but to get out and walk. I don't know how long I've been walking. I finally reached the border with my passport in my hand, was quickly let go. At this time, he was extremely excited because this was the closest time to home in the years he had to run away. It was snowing heavily in the evening. He quietly returned to his residence, but when he arrived, he didn't dare to go in but just silently leaned against the window and looked because he hadn't seen each other for many years, so he was a little timid looking at his wife and children preparing to go out. He quickly hid, and when he heard it, it turned out to be his wife. I went to the church to pray for his peace. He was so emotionality that he almost shed tears. He quickly followed when his daughter came back after praying. The woman on the side was also extremely excited and her whole body was excited, trembling. She never thought that her husband could still be alive. Back to the movie. This is the end, everyone. Remember to share and like to follow the next movie. Bye bye.